Welcome back to another one of these. Now this is, I think, the last colourful character, with the exception of the cats, which I've already created, in this advert. Now this is, it looks quite abstract at the moment, as you can see. The reason I've done a lot of the character like this, I haven't rigged him yet, these are just the body parts, but the reason I've done a lot of the elements like this is because it's easier to rig something when it's completely straight and it's not bent around. The deformers can take the job of bending ears and tongues and tails around. So that's the reason why all of these are quite erect and sort of pointing in one direction. And they'll calm down. Also, as you've seen with all the other puppets, I only make one side and then just clone the elements over, because there's literally, unless there's, even if there is an asymmetrical element, it's better to sort of come up with the mechanics of it first and get all of that done. And then if there is an asymmetrical element, you can just sort of alter the drawing, you know what I mean? But all the stuff that makes it, the bones and the constraints and deformers and all what have you, that will be exactly the same. Now, the character is loosely based on this drawing that I did a while ago, and his proportions are quite different in this. It's sort of, he's almost like a puppy version of this. I just thought he wasn't, there was something not quite interesting enough about his design, so I made a couple of changes here. This character's barely on screen for any length of time. I don't care that much about him, but nevertheless, it's quite good to at least make some kind of an effort with the character. So, you know, there's some interesting things that we're going to tackle. So the cheek here, I want that to sort of cut in and to only come up to there, and then the rest of the flesh to amalgamate with it. The same with this part of the eye. Things like that. And then, of course, this will be the first character that I've rigged in a long time that has 4 limbs. So that does affect how things go together a little bit more, you know, differently. But constraints, I know I keep banging on about constraints, but they are particularly useful when it comes to 4-legged animals, because you tend to want to move the body around far more with a 4-legged animal than you do with a 2-legged animal, in terms of dictating the overall pose. There's just something about the way constraints work which is even better, because let's face it, you know, if you're dealing with a 2-legged animal, the other legs or arms don't tend to be inverse kinematically operated. They tend to be forward kinematic. Occasionally you have inverse stuff, but if you've got a 4-legged animal, all of it on the whole is going to be IK, and constraints work very well as an IK setup. You know, if you don't know what IK means, it's inverse kinematics. So in other words, forward kinematics, which is the normal way, the chain of command of movement would go upper arm, then the lower arm, and then the hand. But in inverse kinematics, it goes the other way around. So it goes the hand, then the lower arm, then the upper arm. So the thing that's driving the movement goes from bottom up. So if I were to move the body around, the feet would stay in exactly the same place where all the other bits would sort of loll around. That's inverse kinematics. So the foot is the driving force of the limb, and the other bits sort of flop along from it, you know what I mean? So we'll see how this goes. As I say, I've done it once before, once or twice before rather, with multi-limbed characters. Doesn't come up as often as one might think. Actually, I've done quite a few, actually. I keep forgetting what I've done in the past. Anyway, never mind, let's go with it. I've done plenty of dogs and cats and things, but of course they've not necessarily been traditional setups. You know, this would have been more anthropomorphic or whatever. Or in the case of my own cat characters, they don't have any arms or legs at all. They're just floating heads and bodies. Right, what I'm going to do, just alter that for a start because they're in the wrong place. There we go. I don't tend to like to do this with characters, sort of swapping things around. I do like things flowing nicely there, and then I would probably put some static transformations to sort of shift things backwards and forwards. But I have to say, doing it this way gets things into the right positions. You know, you can just about see it there. It gets them into the right positions without any moving things backwards and forwards in Z. So, you know, it's a quick win, and what's really the point doing it any other way? So, let's start. I put all the pivots in where I think is going to be the right places for everything. I've done all that before I started. So the first thing I'd like to tackle is this face. Try and get it looking a little bit more like the character. So what I need to do is have this line come all the way in and then stop. So the only way I can do that, the first step, let's just go into the head part here. The first step would be, now let me see which part, right, the cheek is that part, and then the head is that part. And what I want to do is get should I do it as a cutter? Oh, why not? There are lots of other ways that I could do this, but I'll do it the cutter way. Cut the cheek using the head. Obviously now anywhere that the head is, the cheek isn't. But what I want to do is say anywhere that the colour isn't. So now, is that what I want? I'm just thinking. If I do it colour-wise, then to put an extra patch on the top isn't going to be a possibility. So I've got to think of it another way. I'm going to have to split this up into different little jobs. So maybe not cutting, actually. Let me think. I think the first thing I'll do is to try and separate the artwork into different layers so that I can layer things around. Now at the moment we've got, if I look at the cheek, we've got that part which is already separated, and then there. So we've got two different things on two different sub-art layers. You can see that there. So one way around this would be to separate the colour art again so that there's a top part there and a bottom part there, and the bottom part can sort of come behind the rest of the head. So let me see. Oh, excuse me, I'm yawning quite a lot today, sorry. Right, so what I want is a sort of cut there, really. So I'm just thinking what the best solution to this would be. I like things that elegantly tie together if possible, because it just often makes rigging a lot easier. What I'll do, copy that and paste it into that as well. So now we have two versions of this line. And it might not be a bad idea to keep that anyway, but we'll see. But the good thing is that also has carried this line over, and I want to use that to make my cut. So I'm going to use, let me see. Here we are. This is the stroke tool, and that creates a stroke without actually creating any artwork. And I'm just going to, I'm holding down Shift to do this so that I've got a straight line. And the benefit of that means that I've only got 2 points on it. And then I'm going to use the magnet tool and just connect it to that and connect it to where I feel that line should keep coming, and then just bend the middle. It's about there. That's it, like that. Now, if I do that, of course, it'll ruin this one. So I have to make sure that all are visible, and I do a lasso, and then that way it affects both. You see, it'll affect L as well as C level. So that way I can have my cake and eat it with regards to the extra stuff. Got to turn magnet off for micro adjustments. That'll be all right, and then do the same thing on this side. So making sure I'm on the color art layer, get that. shift and drag, and then magnet on and just connect that to there. By the way, there's some sort of weird flaring. I'll just fix that quickly. Yeah, so in order to get rid of that, I click on, using the pencil editor tool, I'll just click on that sort of second one up and just hit delete, and then I'll just push it together, and then I'll do the same thing for that one there. This is on the line art layer now, and do that. They're virtually the same. That doesn't matter. It's the one that matters is the middle part. They've got to be exactly the same. Otherwise, it won't allow unison of movement. Right. Okay. So turn that off now, and holding down Option or Alt. I think it's probably on PC. I'm just going to do that to keep that going there. I think that'll do us. And then that will give us, I can turn off the eye now. So we've still got those. You see how they're the same? But what I can now do, I think, is select, no, I can't select that. If I cut that? No, okay. So it hasn't cut them away, which is a little annoying. I was rather hoping it would allow me to then sort of slice that away, but I'm not sure. There may be another way I can do this, because unfortunately, this isn't behaving as I hoped it would. Nah. Okay, I'm not going to do it that way. Let's get rid of this line, because it does not much. In fact, do I have to, if I hold that? Yeah, it's now got an extra point. Let me undo all of that. Get rid of this bit. I'm going to have to go back even further. By the way, I will tidy that up. Yeah, I'm only seeing the colour art layer at the moment. I'll just tidy that up. Come on. That's it, and then just do that. There we are. Right, what I'll do instead is cut that, get rid of that, paste it there. I wanted that neatened up again. Now, in the colour art layer, I'm going to turn this off, so I'm only affecting what's in the colour art layer, but I'm going to turn that on so I've got that as a kind of guide. And I'm going to use this cutter tool to manually cut what I hope is close to that. There we go. And then I'm going to cut it and put it into the underlay layer like that. Now, is that what I want to do? Let me undo that and put it back into the colour art layer. And I wonder if I can tidy that. No, I can't. Okay. Let's undo a few times. Ah, damn it. Okay. Well, I mean, that'll do for me. That's fine. It's not like I'm asking a lot from this. I'm just thinking, is this the best way to do it? I don't think it is either. I know. The reason I'm not going to do that is because if I need to create other expressions for this particular thing, I need to do all that cutting and malarkey every time, and that's just going to be a nightmare. So, okay, I'm abandoning that idea. We're back on the colour art layer. So we're back to how we started, right? Two shapes. Oh, God, I've got to fix that again for the 900th time. There we go. Right. We got our two shapes. Now, what I'll do instead is create another piece of art, which I could actually do on this. Let's do that. All right. So on the underlay layer, I'm going to create a square. And I'm going to create another color here called a cutter color. And I'm going to make it a very bright, garish green. And I'm just going to do that. Fill the green and then get rid of that border so we've got a more precise shape to deal with. Now, might be easier to do it on the overlay actually. Right, hang on. Cut, paste into the overlay, and now if I turn that on it'll be on top of everything because this is hierarchy, you see. Okay, let's just move this colour to where I want it to be. That would be useful, wouldn't it? I thought of another idea. I'm sort of evolving to the idea of what I'm eventually going to do. Right, okay. What I want now, there we go. Yeah, I've figured it out now. Copy that, paste it into the overlay art layer. Get rid of this thing. What I've got is that perfect curve, you see. That's what I wanted to import. I want that shape exactly as it was before. And now I'm going to use this and I'm going to create a line there. Yes. All right. I shall show strokes. There we go. Show strokes. Pardon me. And I'm going to create another one there and another one there. And then I'm going to use the magnet tool to just connect these together and including that. So now we've got this shape. But the good thing is this shape is exactly the same as what's on the line art there. In fact, if I were being really clever, well, no, I think, just thinking, is it beneficial to keep, I've had another thought. Right, we don't need the overlay layer. Fourth time's a charm, whatever. I'll just keep it all on the line art layer. I think that'll be better going forward. Okay. Right, we'll have another go at this. Right, so I've turned show strokes on. 1, 2, 3. Using the magnet. Clink, 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 clink. So we've got our shape. I can move that around. Now, if I turn that on, we can see, whoops. We can see, why has that appeared? There we are. We can see this other shape, and I can make that shape into something more appropriate for what this is. So it's got this lozenge, right? And this is on the line art layer. So we've got this. Now I'm going to fill this with cutter color. So that exists and that exists. They're all separate, and that's the end result. And when you look at it, you'll see this lozenge. Now, one of the things I need it to do as well is to sort of hide and, well, look, just thinking, that's not quite right either, is it? Oh no, that's right. That's correct. Or is it? Oh God. I'm twisting my head up in potential before I'm actually doing it. Hang on a second, this is really annoying me. I'll tell you what, let's just turn off. Let's put it behind. Right, okay. So now I just need... I think that's right. Let me just try a few things first of all. Line art. It's very difficult to do this trying to do it aloud. Right, so that's almost what I want. 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 I'm sorry, I'm doing this thing where I'm repeating myself because I'm trying to remember what on earth I am wanting in the first place. Right, let's say I've got to do the color override thing, like you may have seen on several other videos, because I want to keep that texture. Yes, it has the texture like all the others. Boils plane. I'll just put them all over there. It's, no, that's not right. I really don't enjoy using... Oh, okay, render selected colors only, that's fine. And then colourful dog, line, there. Oh, that's not what I want though. Okay, get rid of you. Get rid of you, please. Right, I just want the fur one to come through. There we are. I think. Fur one, line art. Okay, that's almost what I want. And then I want the line part to come behind. That's almost correct. However, I need to, the colour part needs to be cut by that as well, otherwise it's too thin. You notice the line's too thin. Diddly-dee. Hang on. And then I need another colour override from that cheek. There we are. Coming to there. I'm going to tidy this up in a minute. And I need the render selected colours. I need the line and the text. Come on, the line and the texture of the line to come through. There we go, and then we get the result. Is that? Do I actually want that green lozenge now? Because that's done what I wanted it to do in the first place, I think. Let me get rid of the lozenge and we'll find out. Yeah. Oh, no, hang on. Not quite. This would allow that line to come through. And actually, I think that lozenge is perhaps a bit too big. I don't... Well, I'll tell you what, let's just do it and see. Right, so I want the green part to allow the head through. So, in other words, the green part has to cut everything that's coming out of the cheek. Is that right? No. No, just the line part of the cheek. No, the fur part of the cheek. All right, let's just, first of all, I've got to label these things. Right, okay, so this is fur. So fur colour. And this is line colour. Just so I know what on earth's coming through. And then, yes, this is the line art, but it's actually, well, I suppose that is what I want, isn't it? All right. So the line art, if I say to it, don't include the green, then we're back to square one. Oh dear, I'm sorry about this. This is not, it's not fun to watch, is it? But there we are. This is one of the stressful conundrums that one faces. Where, see, this is the thing. This character, again, is one of those ultra detailed ones with all these fiddly little lines, and this is the stuff that drives you balmy as a rigger. You know, if you've got a more abstract character design, you have a much more fun time of it because you don't have to worry about this interlocking of little creases and bits and pieces. But when you do, it's not great fun. Whereas it's tremendous fun to draw all that stuff, you know, to create the sort of muscles and the wrinkles and everything else. It's a joy, but to rig them is a nightmare. Right. Okay. First of all, I want to get rid of that colour. So in order to do that, I say render selected colours, and the green is not one of them. So I want line, and I want... Okay. And I want fur. And of course I want the Boyle's plane. Okay. So how's that green coming through? Right, it's there, isn't it? So, okay. Hello. If I get rid of that and just put it on the back, I thought I'd put black, yeah. So how come that's not showing through there? Oh, because it's not actually, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay, get rid of you. So it would be that. There we go. And the fur colour. There we go. Okay. So what am I wanting? I'm forgetting what I'm doing, honestly. Okay, so the green part is going to allow that black part to come through. How? I've forgotten. Oh, it's sometimes, I tell you what, sometimes thinking is really hard. I need the green part to cut the cheek in its entirety. Oh, I'm not really ready for this today at all. I'm not. You know, some days I can whiz around and do things very happily. I'm just doing that to get it out of the way. And then some days my brain seizes up. Okay, I want this to be split into 2 parts, and the cutter will do that job. And then I just move one in front of the other. So all of this is a waste of time, isn't it? Isn't it? Oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I hope some people looking at this will take succor in the fact that it doesn't matter how long you've been doing this sort of stuff, occasionally you just think, what am I doing? Right. I need... What am I doing? Oh, Mummy, I want to go home. This is the bit at the back, right? My brain is really struggling today. I am quite tired as well. That's not helping. Right. Let's get rid of that and say, okay, this is allowing everything through except the green part. Good. Now I want the green part, which would be from this, to cut this in half and put it at the back, I think. Honestly, I know that tomorrow I will be looking at footage of this thinking, what on earth was I talking about? But, you know, don't be so ridiculous. But today, right, okay. So that's what I want, the 2-part thing, right? So there we go. So we've got it all in its entirety there, but I now want to move that one back. Peg transformation, static, plug that in there like that. I have to plug that into there, that'll do. And then I just want to move this back a little bit. Not quite so far. Oh dear. Do I know what I'm doing? What am I doing? Right, so that has been put behind it. So that's what I want, that in front, and I want that behind. There we go. Okay. Let's just do that. There we go. That's a bit better. Now, I just want that little bit of black resting on top. So how do I do that? I do that there, but then without the green part. So, yeah, okay. So that's, which part's resting on top? Right, that's resting on top, but I don't want the green part there. Okay, right, I'm making more sense now. This is, yeah, I'm warming up. I think that's part of the problem as well. So, do not render green. I wish I could say don't render green, but instead I've got to say render. I can't say don't. I can't say that. It's just very annoying about this. So I've got to say have that, and then that's it. Oh, and the texture as well. I've always got to put the texture in, otherwise it doesn't go through. There we go. Right, okay, so now I've got what I wanted. Phew! Okay, so the only thing is that I'm not keen on too much of this curvy bit here. So now, there we go, this is making more sense. I can just change how, in fact, let me go back. Change how much of that is coming through by going there. Now, the only thing I don't like is that it's cutting the line in a rather unflattering way. So I'm just going to have to put another point, a couple of points in and do a bit of that just to get that extra nice. There we go. I've got a sort of curve happening there. There we go. And that's making more sense. Oh, thank goodness I know what I'm doing at last. Yeah, making a right meal of that before. Sorry about all that. Okay, so here we have our little configuration. And actually those two are coming out pretty much in the same area. So what I can do to make it a little bit tidier, oh, go away, is just composite that so that there's just one connection coming in here. And then call that, I don't know, cheek comp. No, not check, cheek comp. Ah, there we go. and just tidy this up by doing a bit of a group, because otherwise, you know, it's just too much mess coming through. We don't want all of that. And I don't know why there are 2 inputs. That's strange. Anyway, do that. That's fine. Right. There we go. That's what it should be. Now, rather bizarrely, it's done it back to front there as well. I don't understand why. There we go. And put you there and get rid of you. There we go. Sometimes putting things in groups, very untidy. There we go. That's the configuration we want. There. Now that makes some kind of clear sense, and then you've got a cheat group. I'll just do that. There we go. Right. Okay. So we've got a little sandwich going on there. Great. Now I've got to do a similar thing for the eye. Unfortunately, pardon me, the brown bit of the eye, I just want the black part to always sit behind the head. So let's just get all of this together and move it over. Once this is done, I can sort of have fun, because the rest of it is sort of, it's just those I wanted to clear up. It's the only fleshy bit, luckily, really, of the whole head. So, eye flesh, there we go. I want the black, I want it basically doing that, but with the brown part coming over the top. So that actually is quite easy, because I've done most of the job of it already. Colour override, blink over the top of the head, so that's there, and then say only have the fur come through. There. No, I hate it. Honestly, I really do not like colour overrides. I wish I could use colour selectors, but they don't allow texture. There we go. Oh, and of course I've got to cut that in order to do that through. Okay, so hang on. Got to do that thing, haven't I? Very annoying. Cutter. So hang on. Fur colour. And then I've got to have another one of these that cuts it, and I'll call this line colour. And it's got to be that. Oh, not this again. Get rid of that. Line with the texture. Come through. Come on. There we go. And now I'm not rendering that, but I'm using it to cut the colour so that the colour absolutely matches up to the wobbling line that I've created. So if I do that, you can see it's sort of connected up now to the rest of the body. Hooray! To tidy all of this up, I'm just going to group that together. Do I need that? I do, don't I? Okay, just get rid of all of this unnecessary coupling. There we go. There we go. And call it flesh. That'll do. Right, okie doke. I could do that and then have another eye behind that. Nah, doesn't work, does it? I could do that and then do that. No, it doesn't work either. I'll just have to do that. There we go. As I say, I would probably have done a lot of sandwiching using pig positions and stuff, but again, it's a very quick puppet that I'm making. I don't really want to have to go through shifting things around in Z depth. I'd rather just make a tangle onto the composite so everything's in the right order in a flat plane. If you want to think about meshing things together without actually moving things around in Z depth, I'll show you. So, whoops. Oh, go away, Spotlight. It's not helpful at all. Right, this is a little quick lesson on how perspective works. This character is complete. Whoa! Didn't like that, did it? Okay, right. Sorry about that. Let me just go back to this. Right, okay, back we go. Right. Do. And head. And all of that stuff. Okay. Haven't got the perspective again. Let me just check. Right, okay. Let me just save it. Right, okay. This is the perspective view, and if I move it round, this character is completely flat. There's no Z depth to any body element at all. And so how do you push things in front of and behind things? The way you do that is using composites. So the order of the composite actually reflects how, if they're all occupying the same Z depth, how do you do that? It's through composites only. So it goes composite order first, if there's no Z depth difference, and then if there is Z depth difference, it completely ignores all the order of the composite and just does that instead. So if I move the tongue backwards and forwards in Z, it doesn't matter what I've done with the composite order, it will push it forwards and backwards in front of the face, you see. So that's the kind of hierarchy. It's composite order first and then Z depth. And Z depth will always ride it if it is different. So the tongue at the moment is all in the front of everything, but it's probably going to likely be far more useful at the back. There we go, like that. So I've got that for free. I haven't had to move the tongue in Z at all. It's all, done that way. So I'm just going to move that to the back like that. Get rid of you. What else do I need? Nose, ear. The ear probably would also go at the back. In fact, it would go even behind the tongue. So I'll just move that like that. I'm going to tidy all this up again in a minute. And there we go. And then the nose is probably right at the front of everything. So that's all good. Yeah, okay. Bit of a mess here, but it will work. And it's actually I would imagine it's fewer calories for the brain of the computer to handle than moving things around in Z depth. And it certainly makes my life easier. So there we go. I think that's everything ready to start rigging with. There's a slight fleck on the eyes here. I'm not sure whether I'm going to keep that or not. I can always add that later on if I want to, but anyway, for now. What's that little line? Oh, good. It's just, yeah. Okay. So the first thing I'll do is I want to check that these deformations will work before I carry on going any further. So the ear, I'll just pop a simple envelope deformer in like this. 1, 2. Hopefully that'll be enough. Let me just see. Right, I'm not going to do it there. Just going to move the end point just off the edge. That's better. And there's a smoother thing. You'll notice if I push it, it'll deform in an ugly way. But if I keep the movement gentle and the curve, gentle, we end up with a proper ear. And it's more evenly distributed because it was just a flat to start with, you see. The only bit that I'm not so sure about is this end part. So what I'll do is, that's down to the artwork, really. So I'm just going to move the artwork using the arrow keys. This is the artwork I'm moving. 1, 2, 1, 2. And then check on the deformer's origins. So I'm just going to move those now. The red means you're sort of moving it from its, like, how the deformation starts, and then of course the green will sort of update from that position. I think that's better. Yeah, that looks good to me for now. Same thing with the tongue. So again, let me just see if I can show the tongue on its own. So there we go, like that. 1, 2. There we go. Do that now. So again, the tongue. There we go, turn that off. There we go, we've got our tongue now. So this is starting to look more like a dog rather than some strange abstraction that it started with. Okay, so we've got all of that. Now I might do something with the tongue. I'll put a spring on it or something a bit later on, but I'm not sure. Oh, and the last thing I have to do is the tail, of course. So let's quickly do that. So again, tail, 1, 2, and then just move it to where I think it should be. Now I'm not sure if this is going to work. Yeah, I think I do actually have to follow that curve for it to work nicely. Okay, let's come back. There we go. I'm just going to go to red mode and just shift that back and put it more in the center like that. Or should I? No, I'm going to keep it to 2 parts for now. I can always add a third, but I'm going to make it more of a curve inside. Now let's see. Now we're getting quite a lot of bunching in the middle, aren't we? Okay. All right. Add one more point there. Now let's see. I'm not sure this sort of deformation is going to work for this kind of tail. So what I'll do, I'm going to work on that later. I'm not going to do it now. But my solution to this problem would be create a basic shape that's got none of these little flecks on it at all, and then add the flecks on later as point kinematic output flecks. Because it's just, they're going at they're flowing at odds with the deformation. They're just starting to pinch each other and stuff, which won't happen if I add them sort of as like sort of buttons later on. So I'll leave it like that for now, just to sort of get it out of my hair. The main shape works very well, but these bits really don't. But anyway, we'll fix that later. Okay, let's just start rigging the bits and pieces. What I want to be able to do is move the head and the whole body sort of squash and stretch and flow and everything else. So the head peg is the driving force behind this movement. Now I've got a choice of whether or not I keep that as a separate entity and have another sort of thing to do that, and I think I probably will. Just that way I've got an easy option. So I shall create another peg, and because I know that this is going to do this kind of job, I'm going to call it head nail. All right, like that. And because it has to be universally used throughout the puppet, I'm actually going to select all of its bits and bobs like that. Yeah, and then we've got options later on. And then I'm going to change the pivot to where I think it should go, about there. And I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it around here. Now, I haven't connected it to anything yet, but we've got the body, which is literally everything. Sorry. Oh dear, sorry. At the moment. The body is literally everything at the moment. And I'm going to put a constraint in to start. Now I'm going to disconnect the head, because I don't think there's any point in having that here yet. I might even just be able to do it without having... So I might be able to do it actually like that. If I get rid of this, so then we've only got this part, I can now do that, which does exactly the same thing as before, but of course it's because it's out of that group, it can affect other things down this side of things now. Let's create a constraint and leave it as it was except for that. And the head nail should be the top one. I'll create another peg and call it ground nail. There you go, like that. Plug that in there. and then plug the body in. The ground nail should be about here. And then if I just show the controls, we can see the constraint. This is unmoved. Neither of these have been moved around yet. And you can see the relationship between the 2 points, blue, blue, and a bit green line. Now, if I move the head nail around, we get this. So the head doesn't deform at all, because it's literally, there's no constraint going through that. It's just moving the head around. But the body is rocking around and squashing and stuff and doing all sorts of semi-delightful things. Now, what I want really is, I don't want a constraint, at least not at this point. I want it to be more of a deformation, I think. So we won't use that. What I will do is put a deformation on this, same sort of type as I had earlier. So 1, 2. So it's, pardon me, following the general movement. In fact, I might do it the other way around, actually. Don't like that. Let's do it the other way around. We'll well, do you know what? I think I will do it that way around. The reason I was a bit uncertain was because the origin point is going down, but actually the rotate, and so therefore I was a bit concerned about how it would flow. But actually the rotation of that, because it's downwards, may be the same as that. If I were to rotate the body and I want that effect, the head, sorry, and I want that effect, it might do it in tandem. I think that's what I want. I can always change it. Anyway, that's the body. Now, what I'd like to be able to do is move this part, and the top of the body would move with it. So let's give that a try. In order to do that, just get the various points. There's only 2 parts of this deformation, and it's the offset we want to alter. And I hit those 2, that's X and Y. Keep that screen, keep that there. Right, okay. Copy, function link, paste. Copy, function link, paste. So X and Y for one is the X and Y for the other. Now, if I move this around, we get that, which is what I want. And it doesn't look as if that's what I want, but it is. Now, if I move that, the head will spring up, which is also what I want. So what I want to do is selecting that, I'll just press the arrow key to the right once and then to the left once. So now it's back to where it originally was. And now I can tackle this. And the way to do that, static, put one in here like that, and then just activate it and move it down to where it ought to go. The reason it springs around is because we've said, please match this 1.7 and 9.9 to something else which was at 0 before. So once I move this around, if I move the head around in its previous place, I was only moving it like 0.1, 0.2. But of course that means that would be 0.1, 0.2, not 1.7, whatever. So 1 has to be the dominant one. So I thought, well, I liked this shape and moving that back. So if I just move that around, it means that that suddenly leaps up to 9.9, which it wasn't before. It was at 0, wasn't it? So its 9.9 is up here. That might confuse you. I've been using this so long that I actually kind of know how the coordinate systems work and everything else. You just have to trust me on this. Eventually it will make sense to you. But you just have to practice and practice until you realise, oh, that's what's going on. Anyway, for the moment, I know what I've got to do. I'm moving the body part around, and then I put a static to sort of re-center where the head could go. And I could put it there or there, it doesn't really matter. So long as the, head is going to have the same values now as the offset. You see that? 1.7, 1.7, 99999, they are absolutely the same. And that means that if I move the head around now, they join together, which is lovely. Now, I want the bow tie and the legs to, well, the bow tie anyway, to connect to the body, but I'm not going to do the same sort of thing here. I'm going to use a point kinematic output, not for the legs. Yeah, that's right. And go away. Yeah. Right, okay, so for that, I do that, and I say to it, I select it and do that, and just move the blue dot to where I kind of want to stick the bow tie to. That's good. Turn that off. And now when I move that around, the bow tie follows. It doesn't rotate with this unless I change what kind of sampling type. We've got several different types of attachment type that it uses, but 1 point will be perfectly fine for this because I want that bow tie to stay put. So now if I move the head around, that doesn't move. Then if I move this nail around, it does, and that's exactly what I want. It's really, really nice. That's great. Come on, undo, please. There we go. Great. So I'll probably have to do the same sort of thing for the leg, but I'm going to do something a bit different here. What I want now for the legs are going to have to be created using a constraint-based system. So 1, 2, 3, whatever. So let me do that now. Constraint. 2-point constraint. Start with the upper leg. I might as well use them and call them nail instead. I don't have to do that. It just makes it a little bit easier to understand. And then that one would be that part. Now then, let's see. I've got to make sure that's turned onto that. Let's see what happens when I move it around. Nothing. Something. Okay, that's good. That's nice. The nice thing about the design is that I can get away with squishiness like that, and it actually, you know, because they're not sort of joined together as one entity, they're kind of two parts, it allows that to happen. Then I've got to do the same sort of deal here between these two. So bip and bip. Is that right? Almost. That's more like it. There we are, like that. Oh, get away. That's it, like that. There we go. Now, these are the two constraints that are doing the job here. Now, I want to be able to move the... First of all, I really do want to create some sort of handle to move this around because I don't want to have to keep doing that every time. So, OGL controller. Pop that on there like that. Just plug that in there like that. That dot is the controller. I want to make it a little bit bigger. So 1 should be 2. There we go. Move it to around there, I will. Setup mode. There you go. And now when I move this dot around, it moves like that. Now what I like to be able to do is move the top of the leg so it sort of joins together with that. Now I don't know whether this is possible, so we'll see. At the moment the legs are just connected to the body peg like that, which is no good to anyone. In fact, that really is no good to anyone. That's far more how it should be from now on. Right, so the legs would benefit from something like that, or at least that front leg would. I think I'll have them as two different entities now. And I'm going to connect that one up to not that, but that. And I'm going to have the point be here. Now, I want to see what happens. It might not work, but we'll see. Okay, so it does and it doesn't. The downside, the good thing is that the point kinematic is definitely moving that around, but it's moving everything else around with it. What I want is to just move the top peg, not everything else. So in order for that to happen, that has to happen, and that has to happen, and then that has to connect to the body main so that it doesn't get orphaned when you move the whole character around. Now let's try it. That's better. So now you get that happening, which is rather nice. Yes. Now there's quite a lot of squishing going on with that, so I want to calm that down. So it's this one. I have a little bit of squishing, but not too much, so about 10. And that should be all right. Now if I move it around, you can see it's not squishing nearly as much, which is nice. Now, do we want that to sort of compress a little bit? We might do. In which case I would need that to happen. But I need it to move in a different way. Maybe I'll tell you what. Put it as it was before, then cut that and just put it inside so that we're not cluttering up the main model. There we go. And then I think we need another one of these here to do a slightly different job. So duplicate that, put it there, get it from, so it's still, they're both still, there we go, get rid of you. They're both still attached to the body's deformation, both of these, but they're going to be attached at slightly different ways. So this one is going to be attached there. This one I want to be attached there, I think. Don't know, we'll find out. So that's better, isn't it? The foot isn't moving around at all. Now the foot I really do not want to be attached to the body at all. So that really should be connected to, you know, the, this shouldn't even be called the body. This should be called like, you know, the dog. Dog. Yeah. That should actually be out here. There we go. So now that makes a lot more sense. The dog is the entire puppet. So it moves the entire puppet. You notice the leg's not moving because that's not actually attached to it yet. You see that? If I did that and then moved that peg around, everything would. So anyway, back to this. Right. There we go. So now we've got that happening. What I'm not liking is, let's see how these constraints work. So we've got that. Now what I want really is for that constraint, I would like to sort of push out and get the other leg moving. So it just sort of, which is it, this one, I want that to happen every time, a sort of compression. So in order for that to work, I've got to create a sort of third constraint between this part and this part that has an influence over this part. So let me get rid of that for now. Just popped it over there. And another constraint, it's a sort of scissor constraint. Put it there, again, get rid of that. And do between you two. Almost. Now I've got to do, because then you'll get that, but I want that to be more rigidly defined. Or is it, which, hang on. Yeah, it's these two. I don't want them to squish too much. So the volume, the distance, if I do a distance 100, and do distance 100 here, distance 100 min, volume max 100, volume max 100, not sure yet, I'm just figuring this out. Not quite. I mean, that sort of work, but hang on. The point balance between them should 50 maybe. Um, front leg. That's what I'm wanting to happen when it compresses, to push out like that. And I've done it before and I can't remember how to do it. I think I've written it down somewhere in one of my books, but I'll have a look later if I really need to. Oh, I can't remember. Oh, that might be it. It's kind of doing it. What about that one? I think. Yeah, it's kind of doing it. Now I just need to squish a bit. So I've sort of stopped them from squishing. 200. Distance 0, distance 0. Maybe. Let's give that another go. That's a bit better. It is compressing. It's not as much as I would like it to, though. I mean, it's not bad. I just would like that to pull out a bit more, which is caused by these two, I suppose. I don't know. 300? Volume modifier? Oh, maybe it's that. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there you go, like that. That's it. So this one, I don't know how far I can push this. 500? Volume modifier. Yeah, that's it. There you go. Creak that up. That seems to, yeah, there we go. It seems to help it do that kind of thing, which is quite nice. And then I should be able to just move that around. Now that's okay. So this is a fully inversed kinematic T kind of thing. Now the downside at the moment, well, is it a downside? I could always put a little fluffle rough on there. I mean, how else was it going to do it anyway? This part, it would be nice if it could compress a little bit more. Distance max 0.0. Right. That's if you did it the more conventional way. So it flanges out. Volume max 100. 77, 0. So it doesn't really have any effect, does it? It's getting its values. This is getting its values from from here, basically. So this is causing it to change. There we are. If I say 200 here, yeah, like that. I don't want it to flange quite so much. 150. There we are. I think that way you get a best of both worlds. It's still a little bit ugly. 150. 200 there. And 100 there. Yeah. You can still pull that around if you wish, but the automatic stuff just makes it squash and stretch like that. But you can also pull it around. I think that's quite a nice compromise. Okay. I'm not sure I've actually written anything quite like that, and I must do that, actually, in one of the books. Don't need that. Okay. Right. Back as you were. So it'll be these three. There we go. So now I should be able to move that around, and we've got that little bit of oomph as well. And then if I want to, I can move the middle part around and do a bit of that. There we go. I mean, honestly, it's only for like one shot, 1 or 2 shots. I'm not needing this to be rigged to the highest quality. It really isn't. Right, okay, let's turn all of those off so we don't need to see those. Yeah, that works well, and of course that works pretty well. I think I'm happy with that deformation. I don't need it to be so perfect. I mean, that's actually pretty good. But I mean, if I were wanting to not have that buckling, I would probably convert it into a weighted deformation instead. Oh dear. How do I not get that happening? I have to go here and do that, do I? Yeah, like that. There we go. How annoying. Right. There we go. There we are, lovely. So now I've got to do a similar thing with the back foot. Now, this should be much simpler because it's only 2 parts, it's not even 3. So create another constraint. Pardon me. I might even do it like this. It's about right. Let's just have a look at that 2-part constraint. Back leg now should no longer be that, it should be like that. Back foot is where you expect it to be. And now you can do that. It sort of squishes that part. In fact, it's only that part that you need a constraint on. As it stands, it's perfectly fine, except I always need to do that bit. And then I need to put another point kinematic constraint on there. So, point kinematic output, rather. So there we go, like that. Plug that into there. And then just alter it to be around there, I'd say. And then when I move it around, not moving as much as I'd like it to. All right, let's try moving it here. Still not doing anything. That's because it's not connected to the right bit. Right, so put it back to where I think it should go. Nope, still not doing it. Those are all coming out of there and going into there. That makes sense, but that is not doing anything. Let's try it up there. That's better. Now, the thing I don't like is this is crumpling the body quite a lot. So, although, I mean, you know, maybe I do want it. I don't know. Let's have a look and see how much movement I can get away with. So if I move that down and move that along like that, yeah, that's quite nice. I can still get quite a lot of movement. This, again, for this one shot. Now, the thing I don't like is when I rotate it around, it moves the legs rather unhelpfully like that. And that's because the point kinematic of both of these will be moving in the wrong way. You see, it'll be moving alongside this spine rather unhelpfully, see, like that. You see, that's the reason why they're connecting sort of not correctly when it has to do something like that. So, you know, I mean, I don't see that happening with this particular shot. If I were wanting to have full control over the body like that, then one way around it is to be able to move the... I wonder if you can actually move the... Let me try that. I never thought of this as being a possibility, but it might be. Yeah, you can actually move the point kinematic output itself using another peg around so that it's more appropriate for the location of the new attached limb. Then you can move it around and it's not moving so much, or you move it and should be more, you know, up or something like that, and then it'll be appropriate to a higher point. I don't know. As it stands, it's fine. It's when it sort of curves backwards that it suddenly doesn't really make sense. I could always do that, and then it kind of makes sense still. Yeah, you can sort of get away with it. Anyway, it's not a big problem really for this, because as I say, it's one shot. Fine. Right, okay. So that's what I've got. That kind of thing. A little bit of life there. Okay. Oh, hang on, I've got to, because I'm pretty certain that shape was not that. Hang on. Ugh. Do that, and then do that, and do that. There we go. I was going to say something not right. Right, okay. This is the original setup of the dog. Now, anything else that I need to do? Oh yeah, the tail. Let's fix that. So what we need to do with the tail is, first of all, get rid of this deformation entirely. So we're back to the shape that we had before. And I'm going to redesign this tail because it just isn't working, is it? But I'm going to keep the original just as reference. So I'm going to duplicate that and call that tail old. And then with the new one, I'm just going to get rid of all traces of backwards flurry. So we're just left with, and I might not even have that end curl at the end. So it really is just something more like this. More like a canoe shape. Let me just tidy this up so it's more like a kind of torpedo. There we are. So we've got a torpedo shape. And now I have several ways I could tackle this, but I think I'm going to do them as additions. Oops. As additions to this shape. So that's our main shape. I'm just going to pop that aside. And then I'm going to add, using that as my reference point, the pegs, so they all tally together, a kind of ruffle. And I'll call it Ruffle 01 because there are going to be quite a few of these. And I'll create my ruffle using just that, really, isn't it? And then that. And attach them on like this, you see. So there we go, like that. And I'm going to fill that with some fur. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add several of these up the tail. So here's a comp I'm just going to attach all the ruffles to. Ruffle comp, like that. There we go. And then I'm going to duplicate this design. Well, I'm going to clone it actually quite a few times. So copy and paste and add another ruffle design there. Oh, no, hang on, that won't work. Well, it has to be duplicated. So I'm going to duplicate that again. And there we are. That's ruffle 2. And then I've got another one there that I've got to create. They're about like that. They're all going to be different sizes and shapes and stuff, and I can always go in there and alter them. So duplicate that again. I think this is what I want. Do you know what? I'm not sure it is. I've thought of a better idea. Rather than creating things that stick out all the time, I might create ones that are just sort of circle cutouts. That might work better. I'm going to chance it and do that because I don't think this is going to work as it is. But it's the same principle in both ways. It's just I'm doing into the structure rather than out of it. So I'm going to fatten this to allow for more cutout room. And then with this ruffle, instead of this shape, I'm going to use a circle. Whoops. It's very important that I use the right line. And I'm just going to do that. There we go. I think, is that what I want? See, the thing is, it's got to do that. It's got to do these waves. If I do that, one will be nice, but then I'll get these sort of cut out bits. Yeah. What I want is a sort of, and I want waves. Yeah, I think I was right after all. Let's do it like that, because then they attach and then they carry on. Yeah, so no, I was right to start with. Okay. Yeah, I thought for a moment I could get away with cutting, but no, I don't think so. Because at least these sort of connect and then we start again, and I can handle that better when they go into each other and stuff. The connections can be quite nice. Okay, so that's that, and then I'll just make several of these ruffles. So ruffle 2. So again, like that. I'm gonna make it slightly smaller this time. Duplicate, ruffle 3. Do a bigger one there. You know, I can always alter the structure underneath them to accommodate this better. So that's good. And then I've got to do, I don't want too many of these. So one on the other side. I do need to group all of this. I'll call it ruffles. Okay, get rid of, oh, come on. Get rid of this because that's no good to anyone. And this one is going to be on the underside. Which one is it? Come on. Really? Really? Okay, go away. Duplicate you. Plug you in. Oh, hang on. It's because it's not connected to anything. That's it. For now, I'll do it that way. It'll probably be, well, all right, I'll do it like that. There we go. I just want a separate one for the ones on the underneath, and that way it's more obvious what's going on. So flip them. Yeah. Like that. And do a bit of figuring out. There we are. And duplicate that one again. Oh. There we are, like that. And then I want to sort of do one that sort of curves along there, so it will be one of the top ones. Until I finish making the whole structure, I don't know what bits I'm keeping and, you know, and all of that. Okay, so that's that, and then I'm just going to alter the edges. I think this is what I want. We'll see. Let's just go with that for now. Now, the first thing I want to do is to make sure that they amalgamate together. And then I can sort of see the whole structure as one entity. So I'm going to... they're far too big anyway, probably. But anyway, never mind. We'll figure it out later. Right, so I need to put all the... hang on. I think I may already have this structure somewhere else with all this business. I think it's not the cheek. I think it's this one. I think it's that. Copy that. I think this will do the same job. Paste. And then put the ruffles behind. There you go. Oh, it's not quite right, is it? I need the... Oh, what am I doing wrong? Oh, no, that is right. No, that is right. They're just sort of not lined up properly, that's all. Okay, so that ruffle needs to go down a little bit. Yeah, there we go. That ruffle needs to be along a little bit and things like that. Ruffle, there you go, like that. And then these ones, and then that one. There we go. That'll be right. I think the ruffles need to have their line work thickened generally, so I'm going to select them all and then just increase the thickness of the line work to about 30. There we are, they're sort of matched together now. Now this is the magical bit. First of all, these ruffles need to be, well, they need to be called the right thing. So 2, 3, 4, and then I'll call it B ruffle and B ruffle, like that. And then I'll just give these the A at the beginning. So prefix A, oh, hang on, underscore. There you go. So they're A ruffle and they're B ruffle. Let me just do that as well. B ruffle comp. Okay, so we've got A ruffle and B ruffle. Now we need to do this. So I'm just going to add the pegs to them. Two, 3, 4. Same thing with you guys. So there and there. And then, and all ruffles, I'll call it, all ruffles. Comp. There we go, right. Now here's the fun bit, if you can call it fun. Right, static, no, not static. Point kinematic output. We'll start with that, or rather we won't. The tail needs a deformation on it first. So if we create one, 1, 2, and then I'm going to bend it to where I think it needs to go. That's actually not a bad shape for the tail to be. Now then, that. Almost right, not quite. Now what we want is for the point kinematic output to actually attach them without deforming them. So do that, and you notice it go like that. And I'm going to change it to 2-point sampling. Now it's going to be very confusing to do that with this all bent up, so I've got to reset the position of the deformation first. And then using that and selecting show controls, I've got to put the 2 points where I think they should sit on that, and then to see if it works I'm just going to move this around. There we are, and now you see they don't deform in the same way. Now that's all fine, but I do want them to scale, so I'm going to just change that to with scaling. And I think I need it to be the other way around for this. Let me do that and let's try it. Yeah. So you see there's now, when I said with scaling, there's this little point here. I'm going to attach it there. And now when I move this around, there we are. You see, you get that. Now I think this needs to be more close to the edge. So I'm just going to again reset it and move this to, whoops, to where the edge of that, so it should attach itself kind of to the flesh of the line. And now there we go. That is much more what we want, I think. Now if I don't want it pushing out quite as much, what I think I need to do is pull this out so that the squishing is a lot more gentle. Is that what I want? Don't know. Let me try it if it's a lot thinner between there like that. No, that is more exaggerated, so I was right. It does need to be more like that. And then it will do it less. Yeah. Okay, it's an art. You've got to do it sort of gradually. Let's do it with the other bits. I've duplicated that. I'm going to move this one. Oops. Get rid of, don't show that. And now I'm going to show that one. And I'm going to move that to where I think that should go. Duplicate it again, move that. Don't show them, show that one. Move that to where I think that should go. Don't show it, duplicate, pop it over here. Now this one's going to be a bit more interesting. Like that. Okay. And then these two. So duplicate, plug it in, pop that on, there and there. And then one last one. Nope. There we go. Now let's see what happens when I do that and see what happens. So now we're getting this. Not quite the thing, is it? Also, I mean, the pivot points are completely shot, but that's at the moment neither here nor there. I think it's a mistake to have that curl at the end at all in this form. Let's get rid of it. Already that's looking better. That was the problem. The curve needs to be created by the deformation, not some sort of ruffle. So that's half the problem. In which case I can now move these up. Actually, I'll move the artwork up, it'd be better. So reset the position again. Come on, reset, thank you. Get that ruffle and move the position to something more like that. I think that's good. And then I think I really do need to do these pivot points. So I'm just going to move them, oops, to there, to there, to there, like that. That's not relevant, so go away. Yeah, go away. And then these there, there. Okay, now let's move it around. Now we've got that happening. Hang on, I think it's because I've moved that one to a different position, so I think this is wrong now. Yeah, so that's the reason why. Now if I sort of stick it to where it should go, it should behave itself. Yeah, there we go. So that's not bad. Got a nice fluffy sort of golden retriever energy tail there, which has got a lot of flap and flumph to it, without deformations that look as if they're being pinched. Now they may do things that I don't like in other regards. But you know how they're actually sort of crossing over each other correctly now. Now if I move that up, that's not what we want. So I think it's because there's too much of a gap there. That's the reason why I'm not liking this. So back we go. Move this, move the actual artwork. And I'm actually going to pull that to make it quite wide. And then move the pivot point to where I think it should go, and then move this to where I think it should go, which is more like that. All right, let's try again. What's going on? If I render that, okay, so we've got quite thick parts of that line coming. I do wonder if making it with a scale is a mistake, or maybe I need some of them to scale and some of them not. If I say to it, don't scale, that's what you get. And so we've got that happening. So it doesn't scale at all. It's now totally incapable of scaling. It will be just this sort of block that rolls around. So that's the downside, is that it's not squishing at all, which you kind of want it to do. There are other options here. The volume modifier, I can calm it down so it doesn't squash. I can scale it down. Ah, that's what we want. Volume modifier 0. Yeah, so all of them I want 0 on there because they just fly out too much. Oops. There we are. And then do the same thing for that. Yeah, there we go. That's much more what I wanted. There. Oh, that's much better. All right. Turn that off and do that. There we go. So now we've got something which they don't squish. They just get smaller, but they don't sort of pucker and twist up like they did before. And I've got the ability to just make micro movements, which again I didn't have before. I still don't like the tips, and that's because that's more to do with the artwork. So if I just go in here and change the tips of these so that they have a join of a mitre, that'll be a bit more. See how that sharp that is now? It's more what I want anyway. So again, same thing, mitre join. Mitre join. And then last two, mitre join. And meter join. There we go. Now that's a much more fluffy thing. Now you can do things where you have a little bit of fluff happening on both sides like that, which is also quite good. You know what I mean? Or you can sort of change it as you go. You know, the animation doesn't have to be the same all the way around. You know what I mean? You can do all of that while you're animating so that the thing doesn't, doesn't look so rigid. I wonder if I can change the position points so that they sort of roll up and down the fur. Let me see. This is where I'm starting to get creative, which I always like. So instead of having them happen at their respective places, maybe it should happen further. Whoops. Further up. No. Further up. So you see how it sort of rolled down there? I want to see how that affects things. It would only affect it if it moved. See, that rolled. And it's not at the present. If I did that, though, what happens? It does a bit. Because I'm a bit concerned now that the whole structure looks a little bit dead. I think that could be fixed in some way. In an automated way, doesn't have to be. I'm not sure. I'll have a think about that. But the good thing is about this is that you can sort of go in there and you can alter things. You can micromanage. You can sort of change the shape of things if you don't like where things are going. So it's you're not sort of caught out like you were in the previous one. You can sort of alter the structure and fiddle. So that's quite good, But yes. And the only other thing is to put a wave deformer on it. But I don't really, not for something like this, I don't see the point. And anyway, I think the quality of the movement will be down purely to the animator, really. Rather than the quality of the rig. A good tail is a good tail. Really. Nevertheless, it would be nice to be able to move it and it roll around. I don't know. It's something to experiment with in future, I think, but I've got to get on. It's quite good though. So you've got, you've got that ability to sort of ruffle around and stuff. I think that's quite nice. So at least you know what I mean. Now, if I bend it, there's a few. Okay, so it's tightening up a little bit. I wonder if I can set, because the volume modifier, you see, would have fixed that. It would have pulled it out. But now because of that. If I do 3-point sampling, does that benefit any? So 3-point sampling is even more advanced. So if I go here, please, yeah. So this does that now. It actually rolls around. You see, that might be a good idea to do a bit of that. Let's give it a try. 3-point sampling. That's it. There we go. 3-point sampling. Let's see. I'll get rid of you. And then these two. Because I think it's a bit dead at the moment. Let's see how that benefits us, if at all. It does give it a little bit more character. I think it allows it to exist in a more pleasant form. It's a subtle difference, but I think it is there. I think it moves a little bit better. We'll go with that. I think that's quite nice. I mean, one thing that would be interesting to see is if I could get them to sort of roll up and down. That would be good. How do they actually? That's a point. If I put a peg into this, for example, and I change the X, so it doesn't. Okay, so it is its own. The X is oriented according to the point. Okay. Now, what if I did it here instead? So it has absolutely no effect on it at all. What about if I did it there? So X does nothing. What about nothing useful anyway? What about Y? That affects the scale. What about this? Okay, that really doesn't do anything helpful. What about rotation? Okay, that seems to affect something bizarre. The skew affects more like the rotation, really, in this case. Okay, and scale. Okay, what about... Now, I'll tell you what, the scale Y is actually probably the most useful. So I wonder if I did that and then did that and then scaled them in Y. Okay, is it where the pivot is? Does that affect it? Seems to. So if I put the pivot up there, yeah, it does affect it. Okay. Can I get the same effect if I do it with a peg? I got a similar movement with the Y-axis, didn't I? Yes, I did, but this is moving it up and down, which I think is more helpful to me. Let me see if that works. So it's all down to pivots, isn't it? At the moment, the pivot for this would be there. So let's create the pivot there. Now let's just see what happens. So that goes up and down like that. Okay. Right. It's only this bit that I want to affect. The rest of it can go to blazes. So copy, paste, and copy, paste. And now if I move one, they all move up and down. And then I've just got to change the pivot. So that one there and that one there. Now let's see what happens. It gives it a bit of extra life, doesn't it? You know? Out of curiosity, does that affect it in any grand way? Not really. About that one. What it does do is just gives it a bit of randomness, which is quite nice. Maybe I would like a bit of randomness in this, just to sort of give the sense of ruffling fur. You know? If I do that, and then I move it around, and then I move that around, ruffle, 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 we've got just this sense of things moving a little bit. Now, what you can do is put a randomizer on it so that it, you know, and it could be affected. So whenever this moves, the randomizer kicks in. So there's just this sense of it sort of ruffling around, a la, the Aristocats or something like that. Let's just try it. Turbulence, is it? Turbulence, distort, turbulence, noise. Yeah, I don't want turbulence. No, I want random modifier. Is that what I want? It might be what I want. There is another way to do this. I could just put what I want, first of all, is to only move it when that's moving. So that would be considered a hold, which is a transformation timer. So this only moves when that moves. So you would have it as a dynamic value. So by moving that, you're moving this. And so far there's no change, obviously, but I would then have some kind of randomizing element, which probably would be that. Now, I don't know whether this would work. Let's just see. Position. I don't think that would work. No, okay. Don't think that's how I would use that. There is something that can do it, though. I mean, one thing I could do is just create an expression with a random value in it, and then say only move something when it's moving, which that would come in. But I think I've already got a node that can do that. Timing of some kind. Timing. Retime transformation. Maybe it's that. Target frame. Frame offset. Not really. Time. Retime. Random. I mean, random is more of a sort of particle thing, but you probably can use it in that kind of a way. Turbulence, noise, image fracture, all of those are for actual imagery to change, so that's not going to affect it. I mean, at least not initially. I might, on my own time, have a play with that, because I really don't know what I'll be doing there, but that would be the principle. Only move when the this has been moved around, and turbulence timing would be created using an expression, I think. I'll have to look at my notes and see how to create that. It's a fairly simple equation. You just generate a random number between a set of numbers, because I don't want the Y value to go up to 30 million or something. I probably only want it between 0 and 100 or something. So I know it's written in one of my books, so I'm going to have to consult that. And then I think I can do that. So then that way, every time I move this around, I get this just fidget of fluff, which just gives it that extra little oomph. And then I can choose how many frames it holds on and all this sort of stuff. I think it might be quite a nice thing to do, because at the moment it just feels a little bit sort of dead, and hasn't got that sort of lovely energy of this. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, I think that'll be it for now. You can sort of see where it's going. Hope you've enjoyed this perambulation. I've got to put the other ear on and the other eye and all this sort of malarkey. But yeah, I'll either make another video or, you know, eventually when you see it, you can download the puppet for yourself if you subscribe to my Patreon. Hope to see you again soon and wish you very well and bye-bye.